In this lesson, I'm going to reveal all of my dark coloring secrets. Just kidding, but I'm going to show you some basics that are super important to know and also really effective when you put them to use. The techniques I'm going to show you in these lessons are seemingly simple but vital skills that I use to color infinite looks on my pages. And once you master these basic foundational steps, you can apply them to literally anything you color and get stunning results. It's also really fun. It's my favorite way to color things. It's easy, it's effective, and you can do it and learn this technique. I'll show you how, and I want you to feel confident in these basic skills because they really can open a lot of doors and make your pages look awesome. And so we're going to get started by coloring these jar labels. You can download them in the course info below. I thought it would be a fun warm-up activity that's maybe a little cooler than just coloring plain rectangles. You can do this as an exercise, or you can cut them out when you're done and use white glue to stick them to your jars, or print them on sticker paper and cut them out. So this one technique is so important. I really want you to get this part. It'll give you confidence as you move forward to follow along. So get a piece of scratch paper if you want, and what I'm doing here is you can barely see what I'm coloring. I'm holding the pencil as lightly as possible, and it's barely putting any color. You can see I'm holding it not straight up and down on the paper, but sort of at an angle and letting it just wash over. And then as I apply a little more pressure, the coloring gets darker and you can actually start to really see the color. And then with a more full pressure and the pencil more up and down, you can get the full color of the pencil. So what this is just called applying varying pencil pressure. And it's one of the most important skills that you can learn. And you can apply it in so many different ways. So let's do it on a jar label. Start with a full pressure, sort of holding it like you just would a pen when you're writing, and outline around one of your labels. I'm using a taupe Crayola pencil. You could use any brown, kind of a medium to light brown, or you could do a different color if you want to come up with your own thing, but you maybe pick like a medium type color for this one if you don't have taupe. So real easy, just outline it, the full strength of the pencil, and then it's called blending, which maybe sounds confusing, but it's not. So you see how the middle of the label is white and the edge is brown. So you want to fuzz out the space between. So now I'm using really, really light pressure, like almost as light as I can go, and very slowly blending that hard edge of the brown out to white. The technique here is to kind of move your hand in little circles, and as they overlap each other, you don't see them or you don't see the direction that you were coloring, so it should look pretty smooth. And I'm using a really, really light pressure here, and lots of repetitions over the top. And then just keep going. If you see a spot on the edge that you want to darken, go back in with the heavy pressure and darken your edges. And then see this corner here, I'm going to blend it out and the edge there from dark. Now I'm using a really, really light pressure to kind of fuzz it out and blend it from the darkest pressure of the pencil to the lightest pressure of the pencil where you're not even marking and you just leave white in the middle. That's another important part of why I wanted to do this style in this lesson is leaving the white space in the middle. This was really hard for me, and I think it's probably hard for a lot of people. It's just the tendency to want to color everything, which you totally can do, but leaving some white space in the middle is a good thing to practice. So give it a try. And here I have a beaver pencil, which is like a dark brown. Now that I have the first layer, and I am just going around the very edge to darken the shadow. Maybe pressing medium hard here. I don't want to leave a solid line. I want it to blend out into what I've already colored. So I want to do a thin line and then blend it just barely into the taupe or the medium brown that's already on the page. And this can be applied to anything. The squares are a really great way to practice just because they're kind of easy, or rectangles, whatever. But as you can see, ta-da, it gives a cool look. And that's just 2 colored pencils. You could even just use one and just use the taupe. Here's one I did with indigo and black, and I'll show you how to do that next. I used the indigo pencil, but you could use any, like a dark or medium blue, and do the same thing. Just outline the edge with a pretty firm pressure. Full to almost full strength of the pencil. You don't have to go crazy, but keep it on the darker side of what you got. And just go all the way around. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You can see my lines are not. I just kind of put it on there and it still looks cool. Some of that just adds to your own style. And then once you got it all outlined, start blending it in. So like with a very light pressure, fuzz out that hard line to the white. So I'm having you do 2 tricky art things here that you may not have realized. One, you're doing a full scale of value from the very darkest the pencil can go to white in the middle. And even if you're not doing it consciously yet, this is a really good skill to practice. And the other thing you're practicing here is holding your pencil and using it really, really lightly. A lot of people naturally color with a heavy hand. I know I did, and it took me a little bit of time just to get used to holding the pencil lightly, but it's a good thing to practice. When you're coloring, it's really the light hand pressure that allows you to get that look. So that is the secret. If you were wondering when I said this my secrets to coloring, this is it. It's just learn to color lightly and then blend it into dark. It seems really simple, but it's so effective, as you can see. And then you can go all the way out. Like if you want to color that blue, the whole thing blue, if you don't want to leave the white space, you can use a really light pressure and color the entire label. But at least try to do a couple. If you've never left a white space in coloring, give it a try and see what you think. So that looks really, really cool with just the indigo, but I'm going to add some black. So just around the edge, really light. And this is totally optional. You don't have to add the black around the edge, but I'm just going to show you what you can do. Just add the black outline, and then I think I blended it in just a tiny bit, but at least just outline it. You can just kind of use a medium to light pressure with the black to not go too heavy, but it'll just kind of darken the edge a little bit and give it more contrast. Beautiful. Look how gorgeous. So that's the same technique, 2 different colors, 2 different labels, 2 different looks. And I think that's pretty awesome. Oh yeah, so let's do the third one. Let's do the green. So I'm using asparagus green. You could use any kind of a medium to dark green for this. And my inspiration was kind of these Formica 70s green plates that I have. So outline the whole thing again with your medium color, firm pressure. Just do a quick outline. Doesn't have to be perfect. Then once you got your outline, use a really light pressure and start fuzzing out the line and blending it to the white in the middle. And then use a light pressure. Just keep reminding yourself to hold the pencil really, really lightly. And you can always press a little bit heavier if you're not seeing enough color. I vary pressure constantly when I'm coloring all the time. Like I'm probably going really heavy right there, and then I lighten it up as I go in, and let your brain sort of take over or your hand. I don't know. I don't know what part that is, but let your flow take over. You don't actually have to think about it. So I think maybe you're not using your brain once you get into it. But see here, I'm going real light to blend out more color into the middle. I want to make it a little bit more green there. So I'm pressing really, really light, and then a little heavier as I get into the shadows. And then on and on. I mean, you can keep adding and keep going with this, which is why it's really, really fun. Sometimes it's hard to know when to stop. But this one, I'm going to add a little bit more color, and then I'm going to add a second color green too in the middle, just to show you like a different way to do it. So I'm blending, using a really light pencil pressure, as light as I can go, to give that nice gradation there between the dark edge and the white in the middle. Adding some more color. I want it to look really green, a little bit less white space on this one than on the one that says elderflower. So just keep going with your little circles in a really light pencil pressure. Cool. Nope, I'm not done yet. I gotta do more. I'm darkening that edge. Okay, I think now I'm satisfied, so I will get my Spring Frost. This is a neon green pencil. If you don't have it, just use a light, bright green for this if you want to go along with the example. And I'm coloring really light, just kind of filling in the middle with the spring green, just to get rid of a little bit of the white, but still keep it really, really light. As you can see, I'm not using the firmest pencil pressure. I'm kind of just adding a glow of green around the edge, and I'm blending it into the asparagus green that's already there. So by blending it in, I mean I'm going over the asparagus green with this new lighter green to kind of mush them up together. And I'm using a light pencil pressure. See? So now it has that cool green glow, like the bright green glow in the middle, and that looks pretty awesome. Oh, and so I'm going to get my Beaver pencil, which is a dark brown, and I'm going to go around the edge just to give more depth to the shadowy edge of this label. Just a little bit, kind of a light to medium pressure there, so it's not a hard line. Just a little bit in the corners and on the edge. Nothing too crazy. You can skip this step too. It's totally optional. I'm just showing you what it would be like to go back and add some darker shadows over the top. And although I've done 3 different layers on this, it's all the same technique. It's using a lighter color to blend them in and a darker color around the edge to get the full depth of the pencil. So that's super cool. Look at those, how beautiful they are. 3 different colors of the same, basically, label. There are infinite ways to do this. Your assignment for this lesson is to experiment a little bit. You can do the examples that I did, or you can come up with your own colors and at least try a few labels. Once you get a look that you like, I think it would be awesome if you would color at least 3 or maybe 6 that all look, quote, exactly, end quote, the same. That way you'll have some practice getting repetition and doing something willfully. You're not just experimenting. You have replicated something 3 times and they all look pretty similar. So you'll prove to yourself that you have control of your pencils and your art. And then we'll move on to the next lesson. All right, ready to practice? Can't wait to see what you do.